I guess we will officially call this meeting to order. It is 7:20 p.m. on April 14th, and we have present today Commissioners Elizabeth Hogan, Angela McGurk, and Frances Whitney. And of course, we've got Mark Berry, Director of Parks and Rec, and we do have a guest citizen joining us, Sue Sutherland. I make a motion that we move Sue's program scheduled slot on the agenda to the first agenda item.
I second the motion.
All in favor? Right, we have to do the votes now. Is that?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think that is there any discussion?
Oh yes. Is there any discussion? Hearing none.
No.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstained? Okay. Fran, I'm assuming you're recording your own vote where you're at.
It's
That's
just
true.
the three of us, right?
It is
Yes.
just the three of us.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Well, hearing no objections, Sue, you are on the docket. So we're going to hear from Sue Sutherland about the renaming of the Kalnaski Conservation Area.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. And as I talk or anything, feel free to ask questions because this will be very informal. But I want to give you a little bit of the background for all of this too. It seems like when I read this, I'm going back much more than a few months. But last July 2020, that's when there were a lot of these demonstrations for Black Lives Matter and the diversity, equity, and inclusion demands too. And a lot of people were thinking about equity of access to open space in Groton as part of that. And the King Kalnaski easement property, which is owned by the town, it actually was called the King property, or is called the King property. The question was, could this be like a good place to start in making open space more available to all people in this area, in this town and city of Groton? Because when you look at the map, actually the city is to the west of the property, it borders it. And of course to the east is the town of Groton. So it's in a perfect place for this. And in fact, John Birch, of course, the Groton town manager, as you know, asked if we would be willing to help with making this happen. A lot of us were interested in the property. The King property was on the list of desirable places to preserve as open space for, I guess, decades. I've only been in town 20 years, but apparently it was on before that. So everybody was interested in it. And it was part of the swap, as you may remember, for the middle school. When the town wanted to take that property on Fort Hill so they could build a middle school, everybody agreed that the swap would make sense with both the Boulder Heights property and then the King property, and they would become open space. At least part of the King property would. So everyone was enthusiastic about that, at least in the environmental world, I dare say. And so the town manager was interested in seeing what could be done. And so it was myself, Conrad Heed, who's on the town council, and Ben Moon, we've talked about before, one of the teachers right there at Kalnaski School. So, and we recruited more people from the city and the town. So it was a group of about 10 of us. And there was a lot of engagement from the city. And we never even had a chance to meet these people. So it was quite nice. So we started meeting in October 2020. And so we went out, looked at the property, invited a lot of people to come and walk around it. It was, as Mark remembers, it was certainly bushwhacking at that time. It was pretty, it was a lot of mountain laurel, and it wasn't the easiest thing to walk around in. But I think everybody was really quite stunned by the beauty of it. And you felt like you were somewhere in the wild, but you're right in the middle of Groton. So that was kind of a nice thing. So we started talking about trails, and so in the trail planning, as was mentioned, Ben Moon and a lot of the students there had made a trail at the top of the property and over on the east side, at least to some extent. And so we used that trail and connected to it so we could make a circle loop around the whole thing. And Mark Berry, of course, and his foreman, Jeff Church, was directed really to open up and clear around where the trail markers we put up. And I have to say, I think they did a tremendous job. I mean, it was really amazing. I'm sure you agree, Mark.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah. And they were so good spirited about it. I know Ben Moon said one of the kids in his class came up to him and said, "My dad's working on that trail out there." You know, he was just so
Oh, cool.
excited. Yeah, so I thought that was really sweet. So anyway, so that was nicely done. It was wide, so people didn't have to worry about brushing against the vegetation and stuff like that. So anyway, meantime, we found out that this whole site where we put the trail around, not only is it beautiful, and you have Birch Plain Creek going down the west side, which has a series of small waterfalls. So you have you're in kind of this ravine of rock ledges, and you have the sound of water and everything, which is really nice. But it also has things like it has an Atlantic white cedar swamp, which is a critical habitat in Connecticut. It's very rare now. It had a lot of bird species, hawks, falcons, things like that quite honestly you don't see too often. But I think with the water and the forest, and you're close to the sound too, it attracted an amazing number of birds, osprey. People even had seen a bald eagle there. So with the beautiful granite outcrops, and they had really nice moss and ferns and things like that. We thought not only is it beautiful for people to walk, but for the kids, I think it was now a place they could go, and it could be very special, but it could be a good place to learn too about nature and the environment, and even the geology of Connecticut, because there's a quarry, of course, in there that goes across Birch Plain Creek, and you can see the cut stones from who knows how long ago. So anyway, yeah, go ahead.
Can you please clarify for me, are we discussing renaming an existing area or creating a new one?
We're actually, because the name of it was always the King property, we're talking about a new name for that. So it wouldn't be called the King property, but the committee got together in trying to figure out what a good name would be. And the name we all agreed we thought would be good for that area would be Birch Plain Nature Preserve. This way it's inclusive of the city and town.
Isn't there already a Birch Plain Park in the
But
city?
that's just yes, there is a small one down at the end, and we talked about that, but we think we want to encompass this whole area. Maybe, I don't know, Mark, if you could share your screen, or if that's not going to work. Well, it's not going to work. Okay.
I've been trying for the last 10 minutes. I cannot.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks for trying. But I'll describe it a bit. The city has its main trail, which goes around pretty much the whole city. And they figured out it can come from Washington Park on the north, and it can go over and down by Birch Plain Creek and connect in there. And then it's going to go down actually to the south, and it'll connect with the town's Sparkle Lake property. And then if you could go around, bike, or whatever you want to do. The other place it's going to go to is there's a neighborhood on the west side that's a city. There'll be a trail connecting right up there to the neighborhood. There's a nice open place to put a trail there. And that's where Conrad Heed happens to live right up there too. So he helped us on that one. And then there's another fairly intensive developed neighborhood to the east. And there's a wide corridor there where we can put a trail right into that neighborhood also. And that will access a lot of town of Groton neighborhoods. The final thing that might happen from the property would be a trail up on the power line corridor, which I'm hoping we can get to Route 1. So that one has yet to be figured out. We have to talk to some of the town and some of the owners up there. Make sure we don't have to worry about Amtrak either. But
I don't mean to be dense,
no.
but it's making me very confused because you're talking about renaming an existing area, but then you're also talking about how these parks connect to one another and things.
Right.
You're talking about a very expansive area. Is this already a defined parks property, open space that's owned by the town?
Yeah, that's a great question. And in fact, it is. And if you look at the place that's really owned by the town, the Kolnaski School is kind of in the middle of that. And you have the Birch Plain Creek on the west side, and you have a pond and the power line corridor on the east side. That's why I was hoping to show you a map. It's easier to see.
Yeah.
So can I ask, are you saying that the place that you're proposing to rename Birch Plain Park is connected to the already named Birch Plain Creek Wildlife Area? Are they
No,
connected?
no, it's not. Because there's a golf course property between there. There's some city-owned land. There's a lot of town-owned land that there will hopefully be a trail through. Probably on the west side of Birch Plain Creek going down there. And so this would be the name only of the place that used to be called the King property.
So I'm
Is that
gonna
a town property?
That's a town property.
Sorry, Fran, go ahead.
as a person, I mean, we like to go to parks. We do. And we like to go to parks in other areas when we visit other towns. If you have two places with the same name, that's going to be very confusing. And I know
Well-
that a lot of times on we do excursions as groups, like with the Girl Scouts and other things. And if people are trying to meet in a common place and there are two different places with the same name, I don't think that's a good idea myself. If there was another name people wanted to use, but two places with that similar a name that close in location, I don't think it's a good idea.
Well, we did talk about that. The Birch Plain Creek Wildlife Area is a relatively small place down very close to the water. And this would be called Birch Plain Nature Preserve. So it doesn't have creek in it or wildlife area, but it is Birch Plain, which we were hoping from this to really tie in to the original settlers, the Native Americans who used to live on the plains there also. There's an old map from 1625 that shows Native Americans. It's in the form of like a teepee shapes and things, but it shows that they're probably, and there seems to be some evidence that they were living in this area, this Birch Plain Creek area. And we thought that that would be a nice entree to the education and everything too. I know it's similar to that small area farther down, but we did think that this would still be the best alternative.
Mark,
And it would,
you've disabled the screen sharing, but I have, can you allow me to share my screen, please?
Yep.
Yeah, Mark,
Let's
right
see.
now, I don't know if you know this, we are very limited in what we can do because of how we're I can basically mute or unmute. I can't chat or see anything.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I've been trying to share the,
well, do you want me to try to send the map? I could
did
do
you-
that.
My screen, you took away my sharing again. I had it shared.
oh,
No, you disabled it. There we go.
Okay, now it's all panelists now.
Okay, now can you see it? I'm
Yes.
sharing my screen. So this is a map, just whatever website. So what is the town property you're proposing we rename?
It's the one that's north. You see Pequannock Road kind of going diagonal there?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and you see, it looks like there's a lake north of the Plain Creek words there,
Mm-hmm. This
but there
water
isn't.
here.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's the pond that still exists, and the trail is going over by that. So it's the area really on the west side of that whole creek there and the school up to the railroad tracks and then down approximately by that pond and over.
So this property is just collectively this little circle around the elementary school, essentially. Like, if I'm understanding correctly, what you've just.
Yes, that's right. That's exactly right.
essentially- Okay, something that extends around the perimeter of the school.
That's
Okay.
right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Okay,
And that's
thank you.
why the kids had a partial trail there, and we connected it so they can take the trail. And on the west side, that's where the nature's classroom is, because there's a very nice place by the creek, very wide with trees and everything like that, where Ben Moon thought would be just perfect for the outdoor education. So
Okay, and so it's called the King property just because that's
It's
who
a-
previously owned it,
yeah,
or
I think so.
official name?
Yeah, well, it's a legal name, but that apparently is who owned it. But I did ask the town staff, I said, is there any problem with changing the name? And there isn't. It's just a town-owned property. It happens to be called the King property.
So this is Elizabeth. As I'm listening to the discussion, I have the same issue as Fran and Angela about having a second area named after Birch Plain Creek. Have you considered naming it after the Native Americans who use that area? Because it sounds like that's a highlight of that space.
I'm great. I'm glad you asked that question, because that was the first thing I was trying to do. And in the maps, the only tribal name I could find in that area was in fact Pequannock. And I was like, I don't know what you think about that. But if we were like, okay, if we say Pequannock, then there's a lot of Pequannocks around. In fact, there's a lot more Pequannocks, and it's a difficult name than there are Birch Plain names. So that was a challenge.
Have you reached out to anybody in one of the tribes?
Yes, we did. And Ben Moon researched it too. We all were researching it.
So is
Yeah.
is there another appropriate name that we could select? It just, having two places named Birch Plain, regardless of one being in the city, one in the town, visitors don't distinguish that. They don't know the difference. In fact, actually, I will tell you that there are residents that don't even know the difference. So there are people who just don't understand that distinction. So it's going to cause a lot of confusion. And it's not going to create, I think, what you want, which is to encourage people to visit the area and appreciate the area without taking away from the other park, which Birch Plain, that creek, that space in the city is actually quite nice, regardless of how small it is. And it has a bird blind that you can sit and watch the birds from. It's a really nice little walk. So, I have no problem changing the name. That's just me personally. It sounds like the rest of us probably feel the same. I don't have a problem changing the name. I do have a problem changing it to Birch Creek because of the existing establishment in the city.
Right. No, I understand that. There's Birch Plain Golf Course. There's Birch Plains all over. But then Pequannock, there's Pequannocks too.
But, I'm thinking, Sue, that there may be a leader of the Pequannock tribe that we could honor by naming the property in that person's thing. I'm just throwing that out as an idea. I really think the connection to Native Americans would be really great.
Oh, I agree. I agree. The problem is, as you know, with the tragic history, there isn't a lot of written history. And, you know, it's very difficult to, and believe me, I was a history major, but we couldn't find anything to pin down with that. So,
Have you tried reaching out to the museum?
yes, believe we really tried everything. We did try a lot because we were hoping that would have been very nice. But then the other thing too, we weren't even thinking in terms of the nature preserve originally, but when we saw the kind of birds that were there and with the Atlantic white cedar swamp up at the north, and then with the magnificent natural features and everything, we thought that would be a nice name to really encompass all the different things, the positive things about it.
And so what was the response from the museum and the tribal leaders?
They don't have that kind of history. They don't have those details. Unfortunately, I was lucky to
So
get
what,
the
I mean, what
25
details
map.
were you looking for?
I was looking for any historical name they could give us for tribes or people, you name it.
Or even
I
a
mean,
bird.
so they're working really hard on restoring their native language. I mean, does it have to be a name? Does it have to be a historic tribe? Could you even just take, or did you ask them for a suggestion? It's possible if you were asking for very specific information, perhaps if you just told them what you were trying to accomplish and were looking, letting them know that you want to rename the space and want to honor its native heritage, would they be okay with that? What would they recommend?
I I know the history people there. It's very hard to get a hold of anybody in this difficult time we've been through. We spent a lot of time trying to do that. But if you have any
You
idea,
can email me.
can I
Email
just finish
Yeah.
talking, please? If you have any ideas you'd like to propose, I'd be happy to share that with the group.
Well, I was going
So-
to say, you can email me. I have a contact at the museum.
Oh, okay.
I'd
Okay.
be happy to reach out to them. And I also have contacts with the Mashantucket Pequot. So if you just send me an email, actually, I'm not. Well,
If I have your email.
I was gonna say, I think it's public record anyways, right? Mark, people can, I wasn't
Right.
gonna
It
say
is.
it out loud.
Well, I can, you know what, I will send it to her tomorrow.
Okay,
Oh, great. That would be and it may be you have just the right contacts, because we keep trying and it's very hard some days even get people to answer the phone. But we did do a lot of research on the history and it all came back to Pequannock. Well, it's not unfortunate, it is what it is, but so we welcome, if you have some other ideas, that's great. Well, we do that because I'm getting the clear message, so that's
yeah,
fine.
Birch Creek isn't gonna work for us.
Yeah, okay,
Like,
I get it.
so,
I get it.
happy to help you find alternatives, so.
Okay, let me just tell you one quick story in closing. I did take a group of Yukon students there, the Echo Huskies group, and on the trail. And the nice thing about that trail is there's something every, I don't know, 50 feet or so that really got their interest. The vegetation was different. There's a huge rock, as Mark knows, on its side, and they couldn't figure out how it was balancing. And I thought it was nice that I think this trail will really be enjoyed by the students and others in town. So yeah, I agree. Let's get the name right and away we go. So, okay. Well, thanks for your time and your input.
Yeah. Thank you, Sue. Does anybody
Okay.
else have any final questions for Sue before we release her?
Great. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Sue. Have a great night.
Okay. Thanks a
And
lot.
I
You
look
too.
forward to hearing from you.
Thanks, Sue.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks, Mark. Bye.
Good night.
All right, so we've got 2 sets of minutes. Is that right? Did we not approve the February ones in the last meeting?
That is correct.
Okay. All right. So like to review the February minutes. Does anybody have, oh, we can see Fran. Does anybody have any concerns, questions, edits? Fran, I don't know if you were talking to us or to someone at the house. But if it
Sorry,
was us, you were on mute.
in the house.
But that's fine. I just wanted to make sure. All right, well, can I get a motion to approve the February minutes?
I move to approve the meeting minutes of February 10th, 2021.
I'll second it.
All right.
Any discussion?
Any discussions? That's the one I'm going to keep forgetting, Mark. Any discussion? None? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. No abstentions because that is all of the people in our quorum. Okay. February minutes are approved. All right. And can I get a motion to approve the March 10th, 2021 meeting minutes?
Sure, I'll make a motion.
I second the motion.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Okay, no abstentions. All right, so moved. Those meeting minutes are approved.
Hey.
Any citizens petitions or comments? Nope. Town council referrals,
No.
correspondence, communications.
Yeah, looking at how, just a quick question about what's going on with the spring activities in the community center. Is it up and running in full? How's that going?
We start on the 19th, which is next Monday. We're currently taking registration for programs. Both, we're offering, for some classes that we can do, offer both virtual in person. We're offering those. Some are virtual only and some are just in person only. I can tell you we have 81 people signed up for in-person only classes. And this was as of 3 o'clock this afternoon. We have 4 people signed up for virtual only and 70 people signed up for a hybrid of virtual and in person.
Oh. Mark, is that typical of the registration that you would expect at this point in the year?
No, it's low.
Okay.
I think some people are still hesitant, and some instructors are too.
Mm.
So, yeah, we would expect considerably more registrations, but you know, it's going to be a slow rollout. And I think as we progress through the summer, I think people hopefully will continue to get their shots, and people will be more comfortable about taking, you know, getting back to in-person classes.
Mhm.
Were a lot of the classes that people signed up for in person offered virtually or as a hybrid? Or were the classes offered as virtual only or in person only? I'm just curious because it seems like if people had a choice, maybe there would be more people signing up if it was in person, but also with the option of putting up the video and doing it virtual. Not like we're teaching right now, or we're.
Yeah, there's some classes that I think just by the nature of the class it is difficult to do virtually. You know, gymnastics. I don't know how you can teach somebody a gymnastics move virtually. One, they wouldn't have the equipment at home, and two, if they were doing something wrong, it would be difficult to correct them. There are like soccer camps or after-school soccer programs. Again, that's difficult to do. We've got drumming lessons I suppose that could be done virtually if somebody had a mini drum or a drum set at home. So something like that would be difficult. So I think most of these are classes that really couldn't be done virtually. You know, there are the virtual in-person includes like karate, exercise classes. It's mostly karate and exercise classes make up a majority of the virtual in-person. And, you know, we have been offering virtual exercise classes and are continuing to do that, but have expanded it to the in-person option also.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fran. All right, any further correspondence or communications? No. All right, all of our reports. Did anybody have any questions about the director's report?
I do have a few things to add. I'll
Okay.
make them very brief. Community gardens, both of our community gardens are completely sold out. There's one in Noank and one by Human Services. In fact, we had a wait list at the Noank Community Garden of like 15 people, and we're actually adding 10 new garden plots to that site. And so we're going to be able to absorb most of those people that are on the wait list. And we also we end up getting some cancellations. So we think we're going to be able to accommodate everybody. So I just wanted to share that. Spring registration, as I just mentioned, is ongoing, and we're currently putting plans together for summer registration. The Senior Center rebranding survey through Great Blue is going out May 4th. Mary Jo and I just looked at the first draft of the survey questions. We got those today. So we'll be putting out an announcement either next week or the week after. So a few days before the actual survey takes place, we'll be letting people know. I'm working with a group of volunteers from the sub base on the Millwood Creek Disc Golf Course. They are going to be coming out not this Friday, but the following Friday to do work on 6 of the 18 holes, getting those set. Groton, as you probably read in the paper, is in a Hallmark movie. They are using the Noank Town Dock for a couple of days, and they're also going to be down at Esker Point Beach. So,
Super.
Yeah. I offered to be in the movie, and they politely turned me down.
I did
Oh,
apply to be an
geez.
extra.
Did you?
Yeah. I was
Well,
like, okay, maybe I'll finally watch a Hallmark movie.
yeah. Well, I insisted that I be the main character, and they said that was full.
Very foolish of Hallmark. That's very foolish.
Yeah. Just to give you an update on the budget, I presented that to the council a couple of weeks ago, and the council has not made any cuts to our budget at this point. In fact, they ended up adding a little bit of money. You know, we have 2 different counts, the 1064 and the 3240. The town manager had put money back into the 3240 account, and I explained to him that the money that we had asked for in 1064 were to cover expenses for programs that don't generate revenue. And then I explained that by putting them back into 3240, we likely wouldn't be able to do those. One was the after-school program at the community center. That's free after-school programming. The other was financial scholarships. And so the council added money back into the 1064 account so that we're going to be able to do both of those things for FYE 22. Capital budgets, right now, the only thing we had asked for money for the athletic fields to do the planning. We received that money. We got the money for the bathroom at Sutton Park. We also got money to put a fence in around the playground at Paquonic Plains Park. We've been approached by a group of parents that have children with special needs, and they brought it to our attention that, you know, looking after one child at a playground is easy enough. When you have two kids, it becomes a bit more challenging because they want to take off in different directions. And actually, I thought it was a great suggestion. So we had asked for money to put a fence in around. We're actually going to do the fundraising, but because the town is going to be paying the bills, even though the money isn't generated from tax dollars, it still has to go through the CIP. So that was approved. And then putting more padding around the gym inside the community center. Right now, there's only padding on the walls underneath both ends of the court. And because we're using the court much differently than what it was used for in middle school, there's adult programs going on in there. The space between the edge of the court and the wall is maybe less than 3 feet. So by putting up additional padding, we just felt it was creating a safer environment. The only thing that was cut from the budget was the money to move the department from Spicer House into the community center. The council is concerned about the cost of continuing to put money into a 60, 70, 80-year-old building, and have asked for a plan. So we're going to be meeting with probably the town manager and public works director to try to come up with some kind of layout. Okay, this is what our anticipated expenses are going to be over the next 5 to 10 years. You know, just kind of routine maintenance. Roofs need to be replaced, and there's other issues that need to be addressed. So right now that money is not in there. And that was it.
I'm sorry, just to clarify, they're
Yeah.
concerned about moving, they're concerned about the age of the community center and the cost that it's going to take to be there instead of at the Spicer House?
Well, that was moving from Spicer House into the community center. The estimates from the consulting team that in order to handle air handling and make the ADA requirements, the cost to do that, we were going to need to appropriate another $300,000 on top of what had already been appropriated. And the council, I think, felt like that was just too much money. And the public works director said, you know, we need to switch out the oil furnaces that are, you know, 50 years old and replace those with gas. And that's $500,000. And we've got to do, you know, X, Y, and Z. And the council started looking at all the expenses of, you know, just kind of upkeep of that building on top of moving us in. So it wasn't just us moving in that they were concerned about. It was kind of a cumulative thing. And so at this point, they're not comfortable spending that money until they have a bigger picture of what we're going to do with that building. Are we going to continue to pour money into that, or, you know, look at something else?
That building being the community center.
Yes, sorry, yes.
Because I would be concerned about how much more usable life Spicer House has.
Well, the council did approve, I think, $170,000 last year to address the outside of the building. So I don't know if you've been over there lately, but it really needs a lot of paint. There's a lot of rot taking place on the exterior. There's holes in the roof where birds fly in. You know, it needs some attention.
Yeah.
And that's just the external side of the building. So, and then the other question that comes up is, what are we going to do when, you know, when the recreation division moves out? And that's another unanswered question. And that concludes the director's report.
All right, thank you for that update, Mark. It was encouraging news about the budget, though.
I think so. Yeah, we're a third of the way through. We next go to, there's a Parks and Recreation RTM subdivision.
Okay.
We go and present the budget to them and then go to the full RTM, I think on May 3rd. We go to the full RTM. So,
Good.
so far so good, but we're only a third of the way through.
All right. Golf course.
Golf course, the new rates were approved by the council a couple of weeks ago. We, as of, I think, Monday from January 1st, have 60 new members, which is just
Wow.
crazy. I mean, like every week it grows by 10. Play at the golf course, we're continually packed, getting phone calls, a week in advance, and yeah, so things at the golf course, and old members are signing up again. So we're the golf course is business is booming right now.
Terrific.
And we did, Eric, the golf course superintendent, has been working on a best management practices document in cooperation with some other golfing organizations, UConn, and it's a really extensive document. I think it's 272 pages, and it is, I didn't print it or share it with everyone, but if you go to the department's website and click on Shinnecossett, there's a link to projects and planning, and you can click on that and pull up the full best management practice document.
Okay. That's fantastic news to hear that we're doing so well. I know that every time I go on site, no matter what time of day it is, whether it be early in the morning, mid-afternoon, or if I'm leaving later. I think the other day I left at 6, and I mean, when I drive down Plant Street, it's just full, and I can see all the golfers out there. So and of course I can see them from certain points on campus as well.
Okay, that's true. Yeah.
Yes, I don't know which hole number it is, but there are some that, it's right up against our parking lot area.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, well, fantastic. Any questions for Mark on the golf course? All right, Trails Coordinating Task Force, have you met yet? I know you only meet quarterly.
Right, we will be meeting in May.
Okay, all right, so no updates for that then. Athletic field?
I guess the only update is like I said earlier, the funding for kind of the next phase, coming up with, doing surveys and coming up with detailed plans for various locations. That money was approved. So that would start sometime after the 1st of July.
All right. Any new news for the agency accreditation?
No, other than we're continuing to input all of that into Power DMS, which is software that is designed for, and the accreditation template was all set up in there. So we're just dumping files and writing narratives to go into that, and we'll continue to do that in between everything else that we're doing. But our goal remains to submit our application this fall, and the review would take place next spring. I just 2 or 3 weeks ago completed a virtual review of Wichita, Kansas. I'm on a site visit team. I did that last year for St. Petersburg, and it's a great experience. You get to see, what other agencies across the country are doing, and I'm feverishly taking notes. We got to do this. We got to do this. We got to do this. So,
the sincerest form of flattery.
yes, exactly. Yeah. And you will see There will be other documents that I'll be looking for the commission to review. In fact, we have one tonight, the policy on public information. I made the updates that I think everybody had read. Oh, there's the cat.
Now we have a quorum.
All right.
Yes. Yeah, so that's it on agency. We're continuing to work on that.
All right, fantastic. I almost don't want to ask, but the Pratt Recreation Building.
Sure. So the invitation portion of the survey was completed a couple of weeks ago. The online survey portion is available until the 22nd, and I would expect the results back probably a week after the survey has been closed. And at this point, I don't have any inkling of which way the invitation surveys were leaning. And that would be the group of surveys that we'd be most interested in, because that would be the statistically valid portion. The online, you could fill it out 100 times and get all your friends to do it. So there's not a whole lot of value, but it does give people that weren't selected an opportunity to have their voice.
Okay.
So it will be interesting to see, comparing the two, the invitation versus the online. Now, when we did the full-blown community needs assessment, the parallel between the online survey and the invitation survey was striking. I mean, they were all within just a couple of percentage points. So I think that just reinforced the fact that the invitation survey was representative of the community. So it will be interesting to see the comparison between the two this time.
All right, very nice. I know that there are some citizen concerns now that the oral school development is starting to pick up some opposition, some very vocal opposition. I did see some comments about the Pratt building, and but overall, all right. So we'll
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I will be interested to see the survey results. So
Yes.
All right, we have successfully made it through reports, and we're moving on to unfinished business, which is that Department Public Information Policy and Procedures Review, which Elizabeth very generously and graciously submitted those edits for us. And that looks good. Were these pictures here last time? Yes, they were.
Yes.
They were.
Yep.
I remember now I think about it. Okay. All right. I am quite happy with this.
I did pick up on one typo, Mark, in that on the first page, the paragraph at the bottom, second line, in section, the word section is misspelled. The T was dropped.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay. Thank you.
That's the only thing I saw.
Okay.
All right. Well, can I get a motion to accept the policy 3.4, Groton Parks and Recreation Policy on Public Information with the noted edit?
What you said.
Huh?
I move for approve
What she said.
submitted policy on public information as amended.
Okay. All right. As amended. Yes. What did I say? Oh, noted edit. Yes. It's late at night. I've used all my good words for the day. So, all right. Can I get a second?
A second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? All right. So moved. It is official. Okay. We took care of our new business. Was there any other new business?
No.
No. Okay. Our next meeting is May 12th. Any alibis? Anybody else have anything they would like to cover or discuss?
Can I just say I appreciate you guys speaking your mind and sharing your thoughts and not just kind of agreeing to everything. So I do appreciate you giving thought to everything that you see and hear.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we wouldn't be very good commissioners if we just said yes to you all the time.
Right,
Exactly.
yes.
All right, well, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make the motion, but one question. When is our next
Yeah.
meeting? May what?
May
Well.
12th.
Oh, okay, got it. Thanks.
Mhm. All right,
I
second.
second the motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
All right, the meeting is adjourned. So moved. Fantastic. All right.
All right.
Thank you very much. Fran,
Thank
enjoy the rest
you.
of your vacation.
Thank you
Yeah.
again. Sorry I was late. Totally forgot. And then Mark called and I went running for my phone and then I saw it was him, but I didn't answer in time. Anyway, thank you for waiting.
All right.
Of course.
Have a
Good
good
night,
night.
everybody.
Take care.